Hello, I'm Ken from African Pilot. I'm here with Alex from Cirrus, and we're going to do a bit of a deep dive into the Cirrus jet.
SF50 Vision Jet, first of its kind, single engine jet, as well as a VTOL jet. But currently there's over 500 flying around the world. We've got 3 here in South Africa. It's had a very positive response, been the best-selling aircraft in its class for the last 3 years since it's been produced. It's seen massive success in the US, basically as a stepping stone from piston owners, private pilots with a IF rating who originally either had a Cirrus, SR22, or even other single pistons, and wanted to make that step up into turbine in the jet world, higher, faster, all that sort of stuff. And, going into something like a PC-12 or something like that, where it might have been a bit too much plane for a PPL with the IF, this aircraft was very specifically designed around that type of pilot and being super successful.
Brilliant. I have to ask, single engine VTOL.
Yes.
Talk to me about the design theory behind single engine and VTOL.
So basically the idea was behind the single engine. The VTOL was just became secondary due to the way that they positioned the engine on top. Yep. And aerodynamically, and obviously the thrust of the engine, they couldn't do it with the T-tail. So it was purely by design necessity that they ended up with the VTOL. Single engine, the idea was, again, like we said, moving from your Cirrus and SR22 up into the jet market. They wanted to try stay away from the multi-engine, the more complex type aircraft. They wanted to keep it as simple as possible and cost effective. With the parachute, the cap system that is
there a parachute?
Absolutely. So any Cirrus aircraft is standard with a cap system. So that's what they wanted to incorporate into the jet. That was a non-negotiable. So our caps actually sits right over here. So in the nose of the aircraft, just behind the weather radar, it's got a full parachute system. So the safety of the parachute system basically is proven to be safer than that multi-engine. If you think about a normal twin piston or something like that, that one engine
your single engine performance
doesn't do much. So a safety factor with the parachute is what allowed them to create a very safe and modern single engine aircraft. The engine we got is the FJ33, which is a well-established Williams turbine engine. Massive history behind it, very reliable. So from that perspective, very similar to running something like a PC-12 or a Caravan, you're not worried about a single engine there. And the VTOL was, like I said, pure design spec around having that single engine on top. There's a bit of a history around the VTOLs and the old bonanzas.
Yes, the build bonanzas and the complexity of instability, exactly. Which is what was my next question. So if I'm a relatively medium-rated pilot, private pilot, I'm operating, I now have to transition from very stable aircraft to a VTOL. Talk to me about how the Cirrus jet particularly assists that transition.
So Cirrus have thought about everything. That was a big question that came in when they thought about how they're going to create the stability, what people are used to in a state-of-the-art aircraft. If you have a look at the back of the aircraft, to counter the VTOL, we basically call it a baby X-tail. So if you see underneath here, we've got a SAS system, which is a Stability Augmentation System. So basically, this is a computerized aerodynamic system that works in relation to the ruddervator. So the ruddervator up top, which is your elevator and horizontal or vertical horizontal stabilizer built into one. When we control that in the front of the aircraft with standard controls, your side stick control and your rudder pedals. The Stability Augmentation System is a computer-generated system built into the aircraft that automatically compensates every single input you put into the aircraft, into the ruddervators. It automatically compensates for every input. And that's obviously designed to avoid any, the old fishtailing or any instability. And what it gives you is basically a very, very stable flying environment. So you don't experience any of those old school sort of bit of uncomfortability or roll around inside the cockpit. Super, super stable, and obviously state-of-the-art technology designed around that in mind. At the top here, we've got a FJ33. So we've got just over 1,800 pounds of thrust. What we've got here is basically a high performance, the maximum all-up weight is about 6,000 pounds. The latest generation is a G2 Plus, which actually brings in additional performance for us at higher altitudes.
Give me that in terms of number of seats, passengers, baggage.
So basically it's a 7-seater aircraft, pilot plus 6. 2 of the seats are designed for kids or lighter weight at the back. So realistically looking at a 1+4 adults plus baggage. The tail's designed, you've actually got a shaft at the back here that actually opens up all the way down the tail.
And you run baggage all the way through to here.
So perfect for a set of golf clubs, some hunting rifles, snow skis in the US. So you can load a fair amount into it. Like any jet, you work with your weights and your fuel and those sorts of calculations. But the aircraft is designed for comfort. Inside the back of the aircraft, we've got a drop-down TV. You can plug in your HDMI, link it to your iPhone, your iPad. Lots of legroom. The design of the aircraft, everyone, when they first look at it, they kind of think it's a very unusual shape, but it was actually very specifically designed around ergonomics inside the aircraft. So when we step inside, you'll see when you're sitting in the sort of second and third row, you actually end up with loads of extra space and designed for that pilot operator. So it's a very different mindset on this type of aircraft compared to any others, which is what Cirrus were looking for, was the owner-operator.
And before we move into the interior, talk to me about operating costs.
You can cruise at 31,000 foot, so it's RVSM approved. The new G2 Pluses, we're cruising between 310, 320 knots. It's dirt strip approved, so we're in and out of dirt strips all the time. We've put it to the test in Southern Africa. Engine on the top, proper solid undercarriage underneath, so it really is designed for all terrain. We've done a fair amount of testing here, both in South Africa, Namibia, Botswana, Zimbabwe. We've taken it all over Southern Africa.
So Alex, up front to the business end.
So this is where the action happens. So what we've got avionics-wise is a Garmin G3000, state-of-the-art technology. What's really nice about this cockpit and the Cirrus mindset, they've really designed this around the owner-operator pilot.
Okay.
So they've tried to make it as easy as possible, as simple as possible, but obviously at the same time as safe as possible with as much equipment as we can get into an aircraft like this. What's really nice from a display perspective, you can see two really nice big screens, pretty low down, so you've actually got a really nice 180-degree visual from the outside of the aircraft. So very easy to see, very nice for landings and takeoffs, situational awareness. Inside on our screens, we can actually split our MFD and PFD into two separate windows on each. Right. And between the 4 panes, you can actually select a variety of options. Engine page, the aircraft's got weather radar, it's got satellite weather, so we can connect via satellite. You can get METARs, TAPs, winds, all sorts of items like that that really give the pilots a lot of extra information that they wouldn't normally get in a lot of other aircraft. Very similar information to what's into the G7 as well. Coming down one, we've got 3 touchscreens, Garmin GTCs. This allows us to, again, redundancy, so we can switch between different options. We can select which screen we want where. At this stage, we've got a NavCom set there. We've got aircraft systems and our PFD options.
So to be clear, this could be NavCom, and you can...
Absolutely. So we can switch it around, touch of a button. What do you want? Okay, I want my com there. I can mix it over. Very easy to switch it around. Everything is run via checklist, again, making sure exactly that the pilot's never going to forget anything. We're following procedures as we would in an airline or a charter operation to make it as easy as possible for the pilots. You can see it's a very spacious compartment. You can sit, got a nice armrest, very easy to control. Your side stick, rudders, state-of-the-art Garmin autopilots.
I'd like to talk about this quickly, and that a key thing for owner-operator pilot is simplicity.
Absolutely.
They're not your regular pilots that are flying 100 hours a month.
They
need to get into an aircraft. They need as simple as possible operation.
Absolutely, and that's the basically the mindset behind Cirrus since day one in the late 80s. That's what they wanted to produce. If you look back on the history of single crew, maybe the old doctor killers in the old days that they spoke about, single pistons, Cirrus really wanted to find ways in which to make flying more accessible and safer. There's 3 ways that Cirrus look at that. Number 1 was obviously the parachute system, which we've also got up here. Here's our parachute system in the jet. And number 2 was systems. Okay, so what systems can we put into an aircraft that weren't there before to make it easier for the pilots? And that comes with autopilot, weather radar, satellite connectivity, checklists, etc. Systems that really reduces the load on the pilot so that they have more time to think about what they're doing and avoid those unnecessary pilot errors that we talk about. And number 3 is obviously training. Cirrus is renowned for its international training programs with CTCs around the world. All the Vision Jet training gets done in Knoxville, Tennessee at their Vision Jet Training Center, where they've got 2 full level D simulators as well as a bunch of other simulators. You do a nice thorough 2-week course, and they have yearly recurrency for the pilots to go back and be able to do recurrency on the aircraft.
Talk to me about these oxygen masks that's up here. required for jets, or these are Cirrus Edition?
Pretty much your standard emergency direct oxygen system. So if you have a cabin depressurization or something like that, quick don mask, so it's very easy. Just push the button, pull them out, they expand over the head and gets back into position. So in case of depressurization.
Brilliant, Alex. A brilliant piece of kit.
Yeah, it's very cool. We love it.